Strange Brew Podcast, Season 1, Episode 345. What a false spring weekend it was. Weather was tremendous. We've got college basketball ramping up. We had a Brewer move over the weekend. Everybody reporting to spring training today. Spring training baseball is on this Saturday. We're getting there. And 3 weeks from today, I'm going to be in Arizona. 20 days from right now, I'm going to be in Arizona. So we'll talk a little bit about curling. We'll talk about, just real briefly, as we mentioned on the last episode, my wife and I spent Valentine's Day in a mixed doubles curling match at our club, and we won. So we'll talk about that. I also got a few texts in on the morning show this morning asking about the weekend controversy between Team Canada and Team Sweden. This was the type of curling content I can most relate to. I understand what's happening in these matches because we've been doing this for a decade plus. Like I said on the last podcast, I get some of the shot calls. We would never try them in our club. The most relatable piece of curling content that I've seen from the Olympics happened over the weekend, and it was a shouting match between Team Canada and Team Sweden over a minor rules violation. Now that is curling. We are going to discuss that. We are going to talk college hoops, Badgers, one of the biggest weeks in the Greg Gard era, and he's had a lot of big weeks. I mean, say what you want about Gardo. Fire Guard, tough night for the Fire Guard crowd, whatever. Over his time, since the beginning or the middle part of 2016 when he took over for Bo Ryan, he's had a lot of really good weeks. Beating a top 10 team on the road in overtime, and then 3 days later, stomping number 10 Michigan State. That's a pretty damn good week. And I would expect the Badgers will be in the top 25 when those come out later today. Speaking of college basketball, we got an all-time meltdown from Doug Gottlieb after the Green Bay-Milwaukee Horizon League showdown yesterday. And because of now I cover sports in the Green Bay market in our company, I pay closer attention to UW Green Bay basketball. That's why if you're a Sheboygan listener and you listen to WHBL, that's why you hear random Green Bay basketball tidbits, because I'm following it now. You might be asking yourself, why do I care about Phoenix basketball? Maybe you don't, but I have to for my job. But Doug Gottlieb, the broadcaster turned head coach last year, then he quit the broadcasting job this year, and actually Green Bay's playing better than they did in a 4 or 5 win year last year. He had one of the all-time coach meltdowns, and I'm going to play you some of the all-time coach meltdowns, but Doug Gottlieb had a 3-minute meltdown about the officiating yesterday. That has to be heard to be believed. It was incredible theater. So we will discuss that. I do want to touch on an email I got about Caleb Durbin, or a Facebook message on my on-air page I got about Caleb Durbin. Brewers made a move for some infield depth. They signed Luis Rengifo to a 1-year deal, so they have spent a lot of money the last couple days between him and Gary Sanchez. I don't know if he's a Caleb Durbin replacement or what they're going to do there ultimately. It is a good depth move. But I got another email about Durbin after that Rengifo signing. I mean, people, I think we need to calm down about Caleb Durbin a little bit. I like Caleb Durbin a lot too, but the reaction to trading him, it seems like it's gone over the top. We'll talk about the NBA All-Star Game. I think the format is good. Giannis didn't play, but I thought the new format, U.S. versus the world, is pretty good. And we'll touch real briefly on NASCAR. How about Michael Jordan? Ferguson, Michael Jordan. Jenkins. He will be in the winner's circle, or was in the winner's circle on Sunday as the co-owner of the Tyler Reddick car. We'll discuss that too. Let's go.
On the ground, a chance here. Durham to Hardy to first. Hit time! Yes! The Brewers win! Yes!
Here comes Melvin to the 25, to the 20, Gordon 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Wisconsin! Record-breaking run!
Morgan a smash up the middle, base hit to center. Here comes Gomez around third. A throw and the Brewers win.
Here's the snap. He looks, he throws, it's complete interception. And there is your Super Bowl dagger.
Booker the drive, gets inside, leads in, knocked away and stolen by Holiday. Phoenix has to foul, and a pinnacle ball throws it down.
Swinging fly ball in the right center. Broxton is there, and they're the champions. They have done it.
It's been a 50-year journey. Wisconsin, we've got a room at the top of the world tonight. The Milwaukee Bucks are NBA champions.
Yeah, welcome in. It is President's Day Monday, so it is a federal holiday today. I think USPS and your Amazon drivers, they'll be the ones that are still delivering stuff, but your regular mail, all the junk mail you get in there, that will not be available today. The markets are closed, thank God. and just seeing that thing dip. Unfortunately for me as a crypto investor, crypto is open 24 hours a day. So that's a punch right in the groin every single day. Doesn't matter what day it is, federal holiday, regular day, weekend, overnight, wake up at 2 o'clock, go to the bathroom, check my portfolio, that's down. Crypto has been a nightmare. It turns out there might not be sustainability to crypto. I guess we'll see. It's bouncing back a little bit. What does this mean? What is crypto? Can you even use it? Nobody had any answers, but it just kept going up. But that has not been the case here over the last month or so. But it is a federal holiday. It is President's Day. It is George Washington's birthday. We talked about that on the B93 morning show this morning. Have some cherry pie today. That was our trivia question. That's the go-to dessert on Washington's birthday. And Lincoln does kind of get wrapped up into President's Day just because his birthday is in February and is somewhat adjacent to George Washington's birthday. I think technically, though, even though we call it President's Day, where we honor Washington and Lincoln, and then you get whatever, 40% off of a mattress or whatever the big President's Day sales are. Is that what it is? We honor the founders of our country. You can buy a gently used mattress for 60% off if you want. But that is the technical name for the federal holiday. I think it is still technically Washington's birthday. We talked about the go-to dessert for trivia this morning, the cherry pie. But I was reading through a President's Day or a Washington's birthday fun fact sheet to try to find some trivia. I did not realize Washington goes back. He had 2 birthdays. Washington was alive during the flip in the British Empire from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. So he initially had a birthday of February 11th, but then when they went to the Gregorian calendar, they just sped it up 11 days. Everybody jumped ahead 11 days. So his birthday went from February 11th to February 22nd. And I don't think it's pretty rare now that it actually falls on his birthday, the actual federal holiday for his birthday. I did not realize that he was alive in that era. It also, on the fun fact sheet, talked about how George Washington was not a sentimental guy, which if you follow any American history, maybe you're watching the Ken Burns American Revolution documentary right now, or you read a bunch of that dry old American history, which I enjoy doing. Washington was kind of funny in that he just wanted to do his job and go home. So all the pomp and circumstance of being the general as this country is getting founded, and then, we need a president. We need El Presidente. We need a president, and everybody reveres you. We want you to do it. And God, okay, I'll be the president. Now you got to have cabinet meetings. How often do I have to meet? He was one of those guys. He didn't really want to do a ton of that stuff. He just wanted to do his general stuff and go home and decompress. But on the fun fact sheet I was reading about that flip of his birthday from the 11th to the 22nd, it said he was not a very sentimental guy, did not celebrate his birthday, which I don't think was unusual for that time frame. But I guess he just honored the day in his daily journal or semi-daily journal or diary, which a lot of guys kept back then. He just simply would start it by saying, today is my birthday. And that was it. It's like the Dwight in The Office. It is your birthday, period. Not even an exclamation point. But happy President's Day to all those who celebrate with some cherry pie today. Now, yesterday, I think I mentioned this heading into the weekend on the Friday podcast. It was Fall Spring Weekend. Holy cow, was it beautiful. People had the grills busted out. The whole neighborhood smelled like grill last night on Sunday night. And I think I brought this up on Friday. We did the zoo. I have not been to the Milwaukee County Zoo in forever. But my mother-in-law had a birthday last week. My niece Lily is turning 5 tomorrow. Happy birthday, Lily. I don't think she listens to the podcast. But a little boring for her. A little boring for many. It's been said, but she turns 5 tomorrow. So kind of a combo birthday party for my mother-in-law and our niece on Sunday. We went to the zoo. Now, my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, and his wife, they take the kids to the zoo all the time, and I can see why. I understood exactly why yesterday. We rolled up to the Milwaukee County Zoo. First time I've been there, I want to say since I was a senior in hike school, so 23 years. It's been a long time. That used to be when I was a kid, real young kid. My parents would take me and my sister on each of our birthdays. That was the trip until I was probably 7 or 8 years old. We went to the zoo on your birthday. So it was an annual tradition, but then it just kind of died off. But we went there yesterday. It's the first time honest to God, I think 18 or 19 years old since I've been there. As we got there, they open at 9:30. So we got there at about 9:45, 10 o'clock because our nephew Oscar has a nap time, which I fully am in support of at noon or noon 30, and he starts to get a little cranky at noon or noon 30. So does your boy. So we have that very much in common. If we get a little too far into it and a little too much is being asked of us during nap time, we each get a little cranky, get a little grouchy. So we tried to get there early, but as you're rolling into the Milwaukee County Zoo parking lot, all it is parents trying to get their bleep together, trying to get the strollers out and get those assembled, get all the snacks, get all the coats. The one thing about fall, spring is, I think especially if you have kids, when you're doing something like that and you're spending a good swath of the day at a zoo or at some kind of amusement park or whatever, you start the day in the 30s, so it is kind of cool, but the sun is out, so what are we bringing? Do we need winter hats? Do we need mittens? And the kids are getting hot, and they're just throwing mittens and gloves everywhere and slowly shedding their jackets and their shirts and just whatever, just dropping clothes left and right. I was doing the same thing. But you have to dress a little wintry in the morning, but then once you get to 10:30 and 11 and you're walking around and the sun's out, it starts to cook out there. But as soon as we got there, I could just see strollers as far as the eye could see in the Milwaukee County Zoo parking lot. But we had a good time. We saw the big cats, we saw an elephant, we saw a rhinoceros poop, we saw a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of penguins. What else did we walk through? I forget what other animal. Oh, the giraffes. That was actually kind of cool. Now, there is a part of me, I understand why we have zoos, and most of these animals were raised in captivity anyway. There is something depressing, I think, at this point in my life. I didn't think this as a kid, but when you see, like, we go through the ape and chimpanzee rooms, we know they're hyper-intelligent animals, and they just look bored out of their minds. So there is a little bit of a depressing element there. But I had not seen a giraffe up close in a long time. What a funky animal. Why does that exist? But you think of them as these gangly, obviously very tall, huge neck. I didn't realize their lower half, for whatever reason, I thought they were just spindly, like really thin legs. They are chonky at their base, and the size of their hooves. When you see those videos, those like Serengeti Animal Planet videos, of giraffes defending themselves, and they kind of just spike somebody with their hooves. I mean, they could crush your skull with one. I mean, it's as big as your head. So that was kind of cool to see that. But yeah, the more entertaining part of the day for me was watching families slowly have meltdowns throughout the course of the day. Now, our niece and nephew did pretty good. I think there was one crying episode. Somebody dropped a Dole Whip, and that had been a thing for 2.5 hours. We want to get these ice cream, these Dole Whips, which I think is a huge thing at Disneyland, but I guess also at the zoo, the pineapple, strawberry, those tart kind of soft serve things. And then you get the Dole Whip, and then somebody dropped the Dole Whip. So meltdown to get the Dole Whip, then we get the Dole Whip, then I drop the Dole Whip, then I have a meltdown because of that. But otherwise, everybody with our crew was pretty good. I mean, feeling pretty good. And we were there for four hours, I want to say, until noon 30 or 1, getting into nap time. But watching the various families just have those ups and downs, those wild swings of kid emotions and parents trying to keep calm. I texted my buddies, I said, I think I saw more than one dad when we were in the big cat area think, what if I just jumped in there? What if I just jump? What happens? What happens if I just jump in there? Like a Harambe situation. But it was a fun day. I had not been there in a long time. Those plastic molds, by the way, now what I remember when I was a real young kid and we were doing birthdays at the Milwaukee County Zoo, they would have those plastic molds. You know, they put the liquid plastic and then it compresses it into whatever, a hippopotamus, or you had the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, those 3 monkeys. They had all different versions of them. Those had to be a quarter, I think, when I was a nickel. You had to throw in a gold pence. I think it was literally a quarter or 50 cents, and they had them all over the place. $5 now. Now, I get inflation. This is a long time ago, but I couldn't believe $5 for a plastic mold. That's probably going to get lost on the way to the parking lot. But it was cool. I hadn't been to the Milwaukee County Zoo in a long, long time, and it was fun to see the kids have a good time. There's a big park there. There are beer gardens. I mean, you can tell these are places that have steered into the fact that this is a place that parents want to go. You get away from your normal parks or your normal neighborhood, your normal walks. Get the kids out, get them in the sun, get them to see some animals. Maybe they learn something, maybe they don't, whatever. Maybe some random fact seeps into their brain about an elephant or whatever. And they just have a good time. There's a huge park in the middle of it, too, with a gymnastics kind of course or whatever. But there are also beer gardens spiked all over the place with a pretty good beer selection, I have to say. So it was an interesting day at the zoo for the family yesterday. Got some dinner, had some cake. It was a good day overall. But yeah, Milwaukee County Zoo, first time, I think 18 or 19. I want to say senior year of high school. I think my parents, we did a nostalgia birthday trip with my sister and I in May of that year. So I graduated in 2002. I think I actually got pulled out of school for it, too, just to do one last, let's go to the zoo for the birthdays. That's the last time I think that I was there. But it was a good time, and it was a really beautiful day. Great weather today in the 60s today. Now, we're going to be back. We know. I've told myself this many times. We've got some rain, snow on Thursday, Friday. We've got upper 20s by the weekend, so we're not there yet. But it has been a nice run of weather here recently. Now, let's just hit real quick on curling. My wife and I had a nice car ride home on Saturday. For those wondering, the follow-up, we had mixed doubles curling on Valentine's Day. It was the best of both worlds in that we won our match, and she played better than me. So she got the adulations. That is true. I mean, she hits a big shot that if she doesn't hit those, we don't win that game. So that's the perfect scenario. Everybody's in a good mood then. We won. She played great. No, it is. We had a good game. Actually, a really fun match that we played well. We had not played in a mixed doubles curling match in a while because, like I said on the Friday episode, because there's so many tournaments and bond spiels and it's a Saturday afternoon league, those wipe out all the weekend leagues. So we maybe only play, in the regular curling semester, you play 10 weeks first semester, 10 weeks second semester in the normal leagues. We probably play 10 times total, or maybe even less than that. It might even be 8 or 9 times total from October to March. So it had been a while since we played that style, and obviously we were watching it on the Olympics like everybody else. But yeah, we had a nice afternoon. It was a nice car ride home. Nobody was stewing on the car ride home. Now, I did get a couple of texts on the morning show about this situation. Oh, hold on. I forgot to play you this. The Seinfeld talking about the zoo.
Special tour today with George's girlfriend.
At the zoo?
Yeah. But before I met up with her, I stopped to look at the monkeys when all of a sudden I am hit in the face with a banana peel. I turn and look, and there is this monkey really laughing it up. Then someone tells me that he did it. Well, I pick up the banana peel, and I wait for that monkey to turn around, and then I let him have it.
Kramer, you threw a banana peel at a monkey?
Well, he started it.
I didn't throw any banana peels at any monkeys. We also played this morning the Anchorman clip of go to the zoo, flip off the monkeys. I didn't do that either. But anyway, curling over the weekend, there was a match in the men's fours, the regular curling matchups, the 4-on-4. And there was a matchup between Team Canada and Team Sweden. I did see this trending on social media on Saturday morning, and I texted my buddies to the group text and said, of all of the curling content and all of the questions I've gotten on the text line, on my own phone line, on the email, whatever about curling, because people know we curl, so now that curling's hot in the streets for 2 weeks, everybody wants to know more about it, and then they won't care when this is over in a week. But it's fine. I don't mind being that person to try to explain things or laugh at things or whatever. I texted my buddies and said, of all the curling content, of all the crazy shots and the run backs and the triple hits and whatever the people have been watching and asking me about and sending me questions about, and are the different colors on the circle, do they represent different points you can score? No. But all the questions we've gotten, this is the most relatable topic I think I saw. Now, I couldn't find a good audio quality of the unedited version that I saw on Saturday that I sent to the group text. NBC, as you know, because they have the copyright to everything here, they had cracked down on any third parties putting videos up, even like cell phone recorded off of TV videos they found and took those off. So I can't find the unedited version. But there was a matchup between Canada and Sweden. Two heavy hitters. Sweden's having kind of a tough year. Canada, I think they're doing okay in group play. But historically, Team Sweden and Team Canada are two of the teams that are gold medal favorites when you get to the men's or the women's side, but specifically on the men's side. So these guys have played each other a bunch in international competition, world championships. This isn't their first meeting. And I forget who the skip's name is, the leader for the Canadian team. But he, every once in a while, he has drawn some criticism for hitting the stone again after the hog line. So when you're getting set to deliver a rock in curling, you get in what we call the hack. And the hack is basically a sprinter setup. You know, like how if you're doing a sprint, take it from me, a podcaster, I haven't sprinted or tried to since 6th grade maybe. But, you know, you get in that sprinter stance and you have your feet in the footholds there that give you a little extra boost. That's what a hack is. That's what it's called in curling, where you get your feet in there and you use that to push yourself forward and push yourself toward the direction you want to go. So when you get in the hack, there's a space, I don't know how big it is, between the hack and what we call the hog line, where you have to release the rock before you get to the hog line. So you can't just give yourself a powerful kick. You can't scoot all the way down the ice, because some people can do that. I can get on a really good kick if I've got good balance. I could probably kick myself 3/4 of the way down to the opposite end. But you have to release it. Otherwise, you could just kick yourself to the other end of the ice and just barrel roll. Like, you know, you see in hockey sometimes in between periods, they bring the human catapults out and they slingshot them to the other end of the ice to knock down bowling pins. You could do that. But you have to release it. It must be, I don't know, it's got to be 8 feet maybe between the hack and the hog line. You have to release the rock before the hog line. And as you would guess, really good world-class curlers try to hang on to it until the last second before they have to release it before the hog line. And sometimes, if you watch slow-mo replays, they are just releasing it as that rock is kind of getting in within a fraction of an inch of the hog line, which technically makes it legal. So the skip for the Canadian team, and they showed replay after these two started verbal jousting, I guess he releases it, and then at the last second, he puts his middle finger or his ring finger on it and kind of gives it one last little boost, and then at that point, it's already past the hog line. Also, once you release the rock, you cannot touch it again. So he's violating two rules here of touching it past the hog line and touching it a second time after you've released it. No touching. So the Swedish team notices this. And something happened where all of a sudden the two skips, the Swedish captain and the Canadian captain, start talking back and forth. And the Swedish captain brings up the fact that, you're also breaking the rules by doing this. And the Canadian guy tells him to bleep off.
Or touching the rock.
Who's doing it?
You don't know it?
Who?
They're still talking about touching a rock after the hog line.
Who? I haven't done it once. You can off.
You haven't done it once?
I haven't done it once.
You can bleep off.
You can off.
You haven't done it once?
I haven't done it once.
Okay. I'll show you a video after the game.
How about you walking around on my peel on the last day and dancing around the house here? How about that? Come on, Oscar.
To show you a video?
I don't give a shit. They were standing here and they didn't call that.
You can bleep off, Oscar. How about you bleep off? I don't care. I mean, this is curling. Now, what the Canadian guy was retorting with is that Swedish captain, when somebody is releasing the rock from the other team has two people standing on the other end behind the guy setting the shot, and you're supposed to be very still. You're not supposed to make any big movements. You're not supposed to walk around behind the other end of the house while that other player is releasing a rock because, in theory, that could distract them from wherever they're aiming or whatever. So he's countering by saying, you could stop dancing around behind the house.
You haven't done it once?
I haven't done it once.
Okay. I'll show you a video after the game.
How about you walking around on my peel on the last day and dancing around the house here?
Dancing around the house here.
To show you a video?
Now, this is content I can relate to. This is content. Like, I've got men's league tonight, and we're getting to be about playoff time in our men's league on Monday nights, and things are getting just a little ramped up. Not to that level, obviously, but for those that take it seriously, in curling, it's like bowling. It's like any sport like that, like darts. I mean, there are some people that take it really seriously, and some that realize, like, okay, this is the Monday night men's league at the Milwaukee Curling Club. None of us are going to win any world championships, so just simmer down now. It doesn't mean this much. But as you get closer to the playoff time, and I think we're 2 weeks away or 3 weeks away from playoffs, my team's going to qualify. I think we're going to be close. But as teams are fighting to get into the playoffs, and there is kind of a cool Monday night, there's like a age-old trophy that's been making the rounds for decades where you get your name engraved on it, so that's kind of cool. But you will see some snippiness a little bit in houses. But that to me, as somebody who's been a decade-plus curler, of all of the things, of all the curling content I've seen on social media as it relates to the Olympics, that was the most relatable content I think I've ever seen. Just two guys chopping it up about some small, innocuous rules. Like I said, I don't know what purpose. Now, he's a world-class Olympic champion curler. So I feel like there's got to be a reason he's hitting it. He's tapping it with that finger one last time. I don't know what it would do, though. At our level, I don't know. If anything, it would screw it up. But there must be a reason he's doing it. And since he's a million times better than I'll ever be, I guess I'll go with the fact that there's probably a purpose behind it. Well, that was a funny exchange we got a couple of texts about on the morning show here this morning. All right, is that all the curling stuff? Let's just do, since I've got the video anyway. I want to do the Doug Gottlieb meltdown, and I'm playing you like 2 minutes and 15 seconds of this 3-minute rant. What the hell does rant mean? So there was the Green Bay-Milwaukee matchup, the Horizon League, the Battle of I-43, as they call it. It's the second matchup of the year. Green Bay beat Milwaukee by 3 in Green Bay earlier in the year. So this is their second matchup, and honestly, I've got to give it to Doug Gottlieb a little bit. So that was the big hire last year. I forget who the guy was. Sundance Wicks was his name. That was his actual name, Sundance Wicks. He was the head coach at Green Bay up until last year. And he had that team, I think they made the tournament. Did they make the tournament in 2024? UW Green Bay National Basketball Tournament 2024. If they didn't make the tournament, they were a 20-plus game winner. I think they got knocked out in the Horizon League Championship in 2023. So anyway, he had that team playing well. Now it's the Horizon League. They get one bid for the NCAA tournament. Whoever it is that wins the Horizon League tournament championship, they get the automatic bid. And maybe there's been a handful of times where another team has also gotten in the Horizon League. But this is UW-Milwaukee, UW-Green Bay, Youngstown State, Northern Kentucky, IU-PUI, Purdue-Fort Wayne, things like that. Not very good or nationally renowned teams. But he went back to his home state of Wyoming. I'm trying to find, why can't I just get to what I want to get to? The age-old question of the internet. Why is this so hard? Oh, they didn't make the tournament. They had a good year, though. So they won almost 20 games in Sundance Wix's last year. So he looked like he had the program heading back to a point like they kind of were in the mid-90s where they were competing for Horizon League championships and getting to the NCAA tournament. And then he goes back to his home state of Wyoming. He had a job offer from Wyoming. He goes back home before last year. So the Phoenix make a pretty splash hire in that they hired a national radio host and a former really good college basketball player as their head coach. Doug Gottlieb had zero coaching experience, really. I mean, maybe there's some AAU stuff there or whatever from his deep past. But all he had done, Doug Gottlieb, since his playing days and the credit card scandal, look that up, Google Doug Gottlieb credit card. There's a whole thing there that he got involved in, kind of like a credit card pyramid scheme in the mid-90s. Anyway, people don't forget. So he was a very good college basketball player at, I think, Texas Tech. And went to the tournament, had a pretty good career as a college point guard, never made the NBA. And then he made the transition at some point to being a sports radio host. And he became a really good sports radio host. He was on Fox Sports Radio for many years, did the afternoon show, kind of bopped around, but ultimately did the afternoon show, 3-hour show. So the Green Bay Phoenix, after a nice surge in productivity and wins and trying to threaten for Horizon League championships, Sundance Wix moves on, and then they hire a national radio host. So this is going to get a lot of headlines. All of a sudden, UW Green Bay basketball was being talked about on national sports radio shows on ESPN because Doug Gottlieb got hired with no coaching experience as their head coach. So he does both jobs last year. He did his 3-hour daily national radio show and tried to coach a D1 basketball team, and it did not go well. They won 4 games the whole year. They won 2 conference games, and everybody was making fun of him. He was the laughingstock of college basketball. Now, this year, they have not been bad. And it was maybe in December in a post-game presser, Gottlieb said he is quitting or taking a hiatus or a sabbatical from his radio show. He conceded that I can't do both of these things, even at the Horizon League level. If you're going to be a head coach of a D1 basketball program or a D1 football program, that pretty much consumes 80 to 90 hours of your week. And it's very difficult to prep for. Now, some people do prep, I've been told. Prep for and execute a 3-hour daily national radio show. It's not just the 3 hours that you're blah, 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 blah on the air. It takes a few hours and producers and to get interviews. It's a full-time job. I know people don't believe it, but it is. You'll have to trust me. Source, trust me. It's hard to do all of it. So after the terrible things last year in the 4-win season, they start to win some games, and they made some good moves in the portal and got in some new recruits, so that was good. And then in December, he said, look, I'm stepping away from the radio show. I am committing to Green Bay basketball full-time. This team deserves it. This program deserves it. I feel like we're building something, and it kind of seemed like they were. So he has quit the radio show. And they've been okay this year. They lost yesterday 75-72, and that dropped them to 15-13, 10-7 in Horizon League play. They're in 3rd place in the Horizon League. I don't think they're going to make a tournament run. I do think they're going to maybe, they'll make some noise. I think in the Horizon League tournament, there are teams that are a little bit better than them there. And it would take maybe, not a miracle, but it would take a few upsets for them to win the Horizon League Tournament Championship and punch a ticket to the NCAA Tournament. I'm kind of rooting for it, not only for the content that I get for our Green Bay stations, but I also kind of want to see Doug Gottlieb coaching in a national tournament game, and he might pop a blood vessel on the sideline. So there's that component to it as well. But they've been better this year. So 4-win year last year, 15 wins and counting this year, 10-7 in conference, and they're in 3rd or 4th place right now in the conference. So they are taking steps forward. So they lose the game yesterday, and late in the game, Doug Gottlieb gets called for a technical foul. In a game, they lose by 3, and Milwaukee hits a couple of free throws. That was under 7 minutes. And then at the end of the game, some questionable calls that didn't go against Milwaukee and then did go against the Phoenix late in that game. And Doug Gottlieb was not happy about the officiating. So Doug Gottlieb sits down at the postgame presser, and you can sense from 15 seconds in that this is a bubbling volcano. Like all good coach rants, I'm going to play you a few more from here in a second. Like all good coach meltdowns, NFL coaches, college basketball coaches, Major League Baseball managers, you can kind of sense in the first 15 or 20 seconds, oh, this is going to be a thing. Like, this is bubbling big time. And Doug Gottlieb goes on a 3-minute tirade where I don't even know if he breathes, and eventually he starts dropping F-bombs, which are going to be edited out of the version I'm playing you. But just take a look, or take a listen to this. Take a look on this podcast. Take a listen to this 2 minutes.
I need the league to explain to me why I got a technical foul when I did not curse, I was not demonstrative, I did not leave my box. All I said was, that's the same play as the other end. Okay? All we ask is that there's a fair game. That's what we ask. Okay, C.J. O'Hara goes and gets an offensive rebound. Their player dives at his legs. C.J. gets called for a foul. I need Donnie at the league and the new commissioner to explain to me the disparity in the officiating. That's what I need explained to me. I got no problem with their team, their staff. They played hard. They did what they do. They play tough and they play aggressive. I need somebody to explain to me.
Here it comes.
Okay, how just those two. There's others that I have massive issues with. Okay, others that have including every time we touched them, there was a foul in the second half. The last play of the game, just to get the ball, they're grabbing us and holding us. Okay, and I understand. If you're not calling that, that's fine. You had the exact same play at both ends in the last play of the game. The exact same play.
Bang
the exact same play. So I need the new commissioner of the Horizon League to explain to me what a technical foul is when I don't leave the box, I don't curse, I'm not demonstrative. Okay? There was nothing that should have been called a technical foul. I know when I earned one. I did not earn one. Okay? And the CJ play, we're up 6 points. That dramatically changed the trajectory of the game. He's our best defender. He's one of our best players. He picked up his 4th foul, collecting an offensive rebound when a guy falls into his legs. Okay? All we ever ask is fair. Okay? And I'm not talking about 37 to 18 in free throw attempts. That's how they play. They shoot it and go get it. Fine, whatever. Okay? What I'm asking is 3 things. Okay? I'm asking how it's technical foul when I don't curse. Okay? When I wasn't demonstrative, because you're not allowed to point to the screen or mime something that's happening. Didn't do that. Didn't leave the coaching box. Wasn't on the floor. Those are all the things you get technical foul for. Not saying that's the same call at the other end. Okay? And C.J. O'Hara collecting an offensive rebound. And what's the freshman? He's a good player. Steve Elam diving for the loose ball, okay, and falling into his legs. And C.J. O'Hara gets called for a foul. Okay? And then the last play of the game, which I'm willing to say, hey, our end, you don't want to call foul? All right, kind of drove into traffic, whatever. It's the exact same play as the other end. Could not be more similar. And yet every time they drove in there, it was a foul. And every time we did, it was mixed. It was mixed.
Was it the exact same play, Doug? There is just, so first of all, as somebody who did kind of watch the end of that game, Doug Gottlieb's not wrong. He's not wrong. A lot of that was spot on, and he probably does deserve an answer. He's not going to get one. But there is something very funny about Doug Gottlieb dropping F-bombs and banging the table like he's Mussolini, like he's Dwight Schrute at the Salesman of the Year conference. And he's explaining why I shouldn't have gotten a technical foul. I wasn't demonstrative. I didn't swear. And he's doing all of those things in the press conference. That is very good. People have cut this up. Now, here's the unedited 5-second version of the same play. The audio is kind of crap, but
The exact same fucking play. The exact same fucking play.
when Matt LaFleur runs an inside zone on 2nd down and 9.
The exact same fucking play. The exact same fucking play.
Just incredible theater. So, yeah, I think he actually had a point there with some of that stuff. I don't think he's going to get an answer. Look, it's the Horizon League. Refereeing, as we know, as somebody who has covered and called games for almost 2 decades, since the last time I went to the zoo and flipped off the monkeys. Since the last time I did that, I have been covering high school basketball, college basketball, and these refs, I get it. When you get to the D1 level, there has to be a higher standard than what I'm talking about. The D2, D3, high school level, a lot of those people are volunteers, and they get screamed at by parents. They're making $25 a game, $50 a game. It is insane what high school referees and officials deal with for basically getting their dinner paid for, and they just get verbally lambasted by insane parents for 2 hours on a given Wednesday night in February, driving in the snow. It's just mind-boggling that anybody ever wants to do that. There has to be a higher standard for D1 and NBA where they're making some money and there's some accountability there. I get all of that, but you just, it's like the Indiana game. It's like the Badger-Indiana game at Assembly Hall, where you get referees who get a little bit wrapped up in the moment, and you're playing in front of a crowd, not as big of a crowd in Milwaukee as at Assembly Hall, but the crowd's going nuts, and you make a big call that goes ultimately in favor of the home team, and they're going crazy. You get wrapped up in it a little bit, I'm sure. I don't think anybody's in anybody's pocket, even though it kind of felt like that with the Badger-Indiana game. But the things that Gottlieb is arguing there are the same things I was arguing in the podcast after that debacle the Badgers had at Indiana at Assembly Hall, where these college refs, it's just inconsistent. That's what it is. And that's what he's getting at. I think it is fair to ask, if he didn't do those things to get the technical, I didn't see that, then it is fair to ask the commissioner of the league, who was just hired 2 weeks ago, by the way, to ask the commissioner of the league what's going on there. But what he is trying to hammer home here is true at any level, and especially at the D1 college level. You just want things to be even. If you're a fan of a team, you want to see things get called the same way the entirety of the game. They're never going to bat 1,000%. Referees and officials are never going to be 1,000%, but you're hoping for 80%, 85%, where if we call one thing against one team, we're calling it against the other team, and we're being as consistent as possible. But that was one of the all-time...
The exact same fucking thing.
I wasn't demonstrative. I didn't swear.
The exact same fucking thing.
It did bring up a lot of different blogs about some of the all-time coach meltdowns. Now, we could go on and on about this. Here are some of my favorites. The Mike Singletary when he was the Niners head coach, when he has the can't win with him, can't do it. This was an all-time rant. And this was another one that 20 seconds into it, you knew something special was happening.
Vernon just, it was something that I told everybody at the very beginning of the week. I will not tolerate players that think it's about them when it's about the team. And we cannot make decisions that cost the team and then come off the sideline and it's nonchalant. No. You know what? This is how I believe, okay? I'm from the old school. I believe this. I would rather play with 10 people.
My team's on the floor.
And just get penalized all the way until we got to do something else, rather than play with 11 when I know that right now that person is not sold out to be a part of this team. It is more about them than it is about the team. I cannot play with them. Cannot win with them. Cannot coach with him. Can't do it.
I love there's that moment in the middle of that where he takes a breath, and he knows. He's getting hot. He's getting revved up. The RPMs are pushing the red line, and he takes a breath and he calms down, but then he just couldn't rescue it. I love that Singletary. Also, Singletary not wrong there. One thing I've noticed about these coach meltdowns, like the Jim Mora playoffs, most of the time, the information in the meltdown is fairly accurate. I agree with the Mike Singletary rant, just like I sort of agree with the Gottlieb rant. Another one of my favorites was the Denny Green.
What did you see about the Bears? We shut them down that way?
No, we just the Bears are what we thought they were. What we thought they were. We played them in preseason. Who the hell takes a third game in the preseason like it's bull? We played them in the third game. Everybody played 3 quarters. The Bears are who we thought they were. And that's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
That one is still just everywhere in sports. They are who we thought. And people still bring up. That was almost 20 years ago. And then here's one that I don't think gets nearly the run it's supposed to. You think of that one, the Mora, the Singletary. In the early 90s, and you almost need the video component here, but Hal McRae was the manager of the Kansas City Royals, and he goes on about a minute-long rant, and in the middle of the rant, not only is he going after some of the reporters and what he feels like are dumb questions, which they probably were, as a reporter, this is maybe a different topic for another day. The pre- and post-game interviews, which I have taken part in any level of coverage I've done, baseball, basketball, for whatever reason, we feel like the media must do a pregame talk with the coach or a postgame talk with the coach or a pregame, and they don't give you anything. You get no insight. It just feels like something we have to do as a part of the sports ritual. Nobody ever says anything insightful or rarely says anything insightful. Nobody gives you inside information because they don't want to give you anything that could potentially end up with the other team. It is just one of these weird rituals we do just to do it. So somebody asked a dumb question that set Hal McRae off, and then as he is getting into it with the reporters, all the tape recorders are sitting on his desk. He's taking those and slamming them. He rips this is like a rotary phone that's sitting on his desk in the early 90s. He takes that. He does a 360 spin, rips that off the wall. I mean, just destruction.
Well, so I wanted my left-handed hitters to hit.
Did you consider Brett for Miller with the bases loaded in the 7th?
No, don't ask me all these stupid-ass questions.
That's what we do.
And the
tape recorders gone.
Ask questions every night.
Same questions every night. Not wrong.
Find the I hit Brett for Miller. Miller started the game. He's playing against left-handed pitchers. Brett is not playing against left-handed pitchers. Find the I bat for Miller.
Some guys start leaving too in the middle. You really need to see the video. Some guys like Homer Simpson into the shrubs just start slowly slinking off, and the one reporter who asked that question is kind of holding his ground.
You think I'm a goddamn fool?
Water cup, telephone, calendar.
I ask questions every night. And stay out here asking all these dumb-ass questions. Stupid. Suckers. Ask me that stupid-ass shit every night.
Ask me that stupid-ass bleep every mother bleep night. It is, this I'll say about baseball. So I covered in 06, right after I graduated. My buddy Nick and I did an internship with a college all-star wood bat league, the Woodchucks up in Wausau. And that North Woods league that they played in has expanded like tenfold since we were there. And they've added now the Mallards, and there's a Green Bay team. There are teams all over the Midwest. Thunder Bay, Canada, that was our longest trip, 9 hours to Thunder Bay, Canada, a 3-movie trip. Although, the trip to Thunder Bay was the first time I saw the movie Roadhouse, so not a total loss there. That's like the one thing I took from that whole summer is I don't think I'd survive an entire baseball season of like minor league baseball. I took that from that summer because they played 62 games and we were just gassed. It was every day. We had 2 days off the whole summer. We had the 4th of July and some other day off, like for the All-Star break. And you're just riding the bus for 3 straight months, calling games literally every day. And I remember we both, at the end of that summer, said, I don't know how they do this. I mean, Major League Baseball, you get the first-class accommodations, you're flying first class, you're on the team plane, you get the nice hotels. That makes it easier. But if you're in the single or double A system as a radio broadcaster trying to cut your chops and make your way up, I don't know how they do that for 130 games in the minor league level. That takes some dedication. So we took that from it, and I saw the movie Roadhouse for the first time on the road trip to Thunder Bay, Canada. Those are the 2 things I took from that summer. But I was the guy on the broadcast team in charge of talking to the manager, Joel Barta. We called it Bench Talk with Barta. And every pregame or an hour before the game, I had to sneak up on him on the sideline and record like a 5-minute interview previewing that day's game. And much like the early 90s Royals and Hal McRae there, the Woodchucks stunk on ice. They were bad. He knew they were bad. So they were 20 games under 500. So every day you sit down and you rehash, well, another loss last night where nobody could hit and the pitching was bad. What do you think about that? And by the end of the year, I mean, we both kind of knew, like, God, do we have to do this? This is so stupid. So I kind of understand where Al McRae's coming from there and where that reporter's probably coming from. It is not a fun spot to be in because at this point, we are 130 years into baseball. We're not breaking any new ground on Bench Talk with Barta, unfortunately. But that just reminded me, seeing him melt down like that just reminded me of that. And the fact that over a baseball schedule, they're doing it 162 games. They're in that manager's office, on the road, at home, every night. And like Hal McRae said, you're asking me these stupid-ass questions every day. He's not wrong. Another one that's not wrong. Those are 3 of my favorites, though. But that Gottlieb meltdown was awesome. I was so happy. I was smiling from ear to ear when I saw that as kind of trending news on Twitter last night. Now, let's stick with college basketball and talk about Badger basketball. They beat number 8 Illinois last week, Tuesday, in overtime. And as we went over on the Friday podcast, I get it. Illinois was down a couple of key players. I don't care. They beat a top 10 team on the road in overtime, coming back from a ref screw job at Indiana the prior Saturday. So you get that bounce-back win. Then you get number 10 Michigan State. So you go on the road to number 8 Illinois. You win. Then, 3 days later, the 10th-ranked team in the country, a 20-4 Michigan State team, comes to the Kohl Center. And not only do the Badgers get a win, they blew them out. I mean, it was a 17-point halftime game. They had a double-digit lead early, and they never looked back. They win 92-71. Incidentally, from our group chat, my buddy Nick, he took his son to the game, and we were texting back and forth Friday night as he was getting to go to the game. And as he was kind of describing the scene in Madison, I thought, God, what a night, where it's one of those first warm February days, right? I remember that being in college in Point, and you get those random 40, 50, 60-degree February days, and everybody's got the good vibes and the music. You can hear from the houses. People are busting out the Smoky Joe grills and overcooking some hamburgers because you don't know what the hell you're doing when you're 19 or 20 years old. So you get that going. But the vibes of spring being on the way, the semester's getting close to half over, March Madness is on the horizon, baseball's coming back, not on the Badger campus, but you know what I mean. Those are some of the best days on a college campus. So as he was describing a Friday night with the grills going on campus and a big college basketball game coming off of a top 10 win, another top 10 team, that just felt like, ooh, God, I could taste that moment. That was awesome. So not only do you get the win, you blow them out, you get a huge night from Nick Boyd. I mean, what a year this guy is having. 29 points on 10 of 17 shooting, 5 of 7 from distance, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. I did see a debate on Badger Twitter that kind of threw out, why is Nick Boyd not as beloved, it seems like, as John Tonje was last year? John Tonje was an odd situation last year because we knew it was only going to be 1 year in Madison. But for whatever reason, something about John Tonje, the guy, something about his brand, something about the way he carried himself, and he was a better two-way player, as we've talked about. Nick Boyd can fill it up, and he can give you 20 a night, just like Tonje did. But Tonje was a better on-ball defender, too. Tonje is one of those odd players in the NIL transfer portal era where everybody is a mercenary and everybody's bopping to a million different teams. And how many teams now has A.J. Storr been on? 5, I think, in the last 4 years? It's hard to get that connection with a fan base when you're only there for 1 year. Now, when you go back in the day, and the Badgers still have players like this, like Blackwell's been here for 3 years now, as guys come up and they become more relevant on a football team or a basketball team and they stay 4 or 5 years, you really get that connection because you kind of get to know them in the pre- and post-game interviews with the stupid-ass questions, and you kind of get to know and like these players. In the transfer portal era where a lot of guys are popping by for 1 year, their last year of eligibility, it is tough to have that kind of a connection with the fan base, but somehow John Tonje did that, and I wouldn't say he was an overly charismatic guy. There was just something about him that we loved, and it kind of felt like when he was done last year, it felt like on senior day, like he had been a 4 or 5 year member of the program when he'd only been there for a year. Now, Nick Boyd, what is he averaging now coming out of Friday? He's averaging 21 a game. Tonje was averaging, 23 a game? So Tonje moves on. Greg Gard, who, as I've often said and stand by, Greg Gard figuring out at Wisconsin the NIL transfer portal era is one of the underwritten about stories, I think, of just sports in general in Madison. I would never have guessed an old school guy like Gard, who came up with all the old school guys like Bo Ryan and Dick Bennett, the fact that he has adapted so well to this new era of college basketball, of college athletics, is shocking to me, and how quickly he's done it. So Tonje moves on. Oh, my God, what are we going to do without John Tonje? And he brings in Nick Boyd. Boyd averaged 14 points a game for San Diego State last year. Pretty good role player on that team. Can he fill the void? Yes. I mean, he's given you all of the scoring, basically, Tonje gave you. But for some reason, it doesn't seem like the fan base is in love with Nick Boyd the way they were with Tonje. I think people like Nick Boyd. But I thought that was an interesting question thrown out there on Twitter of why isn't there this love affair with Nick Boyd that there is with Tonje? I don't know. But the Boyd-Blackwell, the Killer Bees backcourt has been unbelievable. You've got Boyd averaging 21 a game. He had 29 on Friday. Blackwell had 24 on Friday. He's averaging 19 a game. Maybe that's what's hurting Boyd, is that now we're in year 3 of Blackwell and we just kind of like John Blackwell more. Maybe that's it. Winter had 10 and 11 rebounds, double-double for a slightly better version of Stephen Crowell. Although Winter had a massive game. It wasn't the game against Illinois. What was the game he had, like 20? Oh, it was Indiana. He had 26 and 12. I don't think Stephen Crowell ever did that. And he's averaging 14 and 9 this year. But you had good contributions across the board. But the backcourt, the Blackwell-Boyd backcourt, was tremendous on Friday. So, as I said on a couple different morning shows today, when you look back at Greg Gard's era of basketball, which now goes from, December of 2016 until now, so a little less than a decade, and you look at some of the best weeks he's had, and again, I say what you want about the tournament success. It hasn't been there since the first 2 years where he made the runs to the Sweet 16. And I know people like to say, those weren't even Greg Gard's teams. You know Greg Gard was the lead recruiter on the Bo Ryan teams, right? I understand that Bo Ryan being there is a big part of those guys coming to play there. But Greg Gard was the guy as his lead assistant and his top recruiter. He put those teams together. So if you want to say those are Bo Ryan's guys, I guess fine. But he was as integral a part of those teams as anybody. So he had the back-to-back Sweet 16s in 16 and 17, and then hasn't been back to that level since. And he's had a lot of good teams. He had the Johnny Davis teams. I mean, we're talking about 2-3 seeds in the tournament, and he has been unable to get back to the Sweet 16. That is the number one criticism of Greg Gard. And it's fair in the last, 7 years. But in a lot of years where he saw a lot of success in 20-plus win seasons and second, third, sometimes first-place finishes in the Big Ten regular season, he's had some great weeks. I think you can put that up there with any of them. You beat the number 8 team on the road in overtime. 3 days later, you smoke the number 10 team at home. Badger fans rushed the floor. I know there was a lot of I don't understand why we do this. That is the biggest old man yells at cloud thing now with college sports, because remember Badger football did that when they finally beat a top 25 team. They beat Illinois, and then they got beat the next week, but then they beat another top 25 team at home, and they rushed the field again. And that conversation came up, oh boy, how the program has fallen. We're rushing the field now when we beat number 24 Illinois. And you saw some of that discourse again on Friday when Badger fans rushed the floor after beating Michigan State by 21. Oh my God, these kids, we used to be such a prestigious program. Now we're rushing the floor on a Friday in February. It's like, let the kids have fun. Who the hell cares? I don't know why that take has become a big thing. Like we have to police when 21-year-old, 20-year-old, 22-year-old college students rush the court or rush the field. Let the kids have fun. Also, I understand they were the underdogs at home, but I think the rushing of the court was more about the totality of the week where you beat two top 10 teams. It wasn't just beating Michigan State. If that was the only game they played that week and they beat Michigan State at home on Friday, I'm not sure the students rushed the floor. I think that was some pent-up energy from watching them win on the road on Tuesday. Then you blow a team out, a top 10 team on Friday, and it's the hated Michigan State Spartans. So there was a lot that played into that. I don't know why we have to litigate every time students rush the floor. Why are they doing this? This used to be such a special thing, and now we're rushing the floor. Who cares? Rush the floor every game. You're 21 years old. You're in the prime of your life. You're in one of the best party towns in America. The college team just knocked off a top 10 team. I don't care if you beat Northwestern. Rush the floor. Have a good time. Let the kids have fun. So the Badgers are now 10-4 in Big Ten play, 18-7 overall. I don't think the rankings are out as we're recording this. Let's take a look. They are not. They will be in the top 25 today. I would think they're going to be right in that 23, 24, 25 range, but they are going to be a top 25 team when the new rankings come out today. It seems to me that before the BYU game, all the way back in mid-November, there was a little bit of a degenerate podcaster, he means well, who threw out there that he thought this team was going to be good, and he thought this team had the potential to be a top 20, top 15 team and a 4 or 5 seed come tournament time. And there were some lulls there where that guy looked like an idiot, which has happened. But right now, that guy doesn't look like as much of an idiot, which is the goal of this podcast. Try not to look like as much of an idiot. B93. But they will be a top 25 team today. Now, they've got at Ohio State on Tuesday. As we mentioned a few times, they beat Ohio State at home a couple of Saturdays ago. And Ohio State's not a terrible team. What is Ohio State heading into Tuesday? Yeah, they're 16-9, and they're 8-6 in Big Ten play. That's a borderline tournament team. So anytime you play a team twice and you beat them at home the first time, it is incredibly difficult to go on the road and sweep that team. That is going to be a very tough game Tuesday. Then you've got Iowa back home on the 22nd, and you're at a bad Oregon team. That is next Wednesday on the 25th. But they've got 6 conference games left, and with those 2 wins, I think now you're looking like this could be a 23-win team, maybe 24-win team. Probably 22, 23-win team. And it's going to be a 12-ish win team in conference again this year. Just an incredible job that Greg Gard has done. And what a week. Knocking off 2 top 10 teams, 1 on the road and 1 at home by 21 points. I think that wraps up college basketball. Now let's talk about baseball. We'll hit on the All-Star game. And then just real quick NASCAR at the end. Just one thing I want to talk about. I got a couple of comments on a Caleb Durbin blog I wrote over the weekend and a message on the On Air John Facebook page, not on the Strange Brew email, strangebrewpod@AOL.com. And the Brewers made a move on Friday. They signed Luis Rengifo to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. Mark Attanasio must have seen a boon in the Malibu sand industry because he spent $1.75 million on Gary Sanchez and $3.5 million on Luis Rengifo. And Rengifo can make $1.5 million in incentives. This may be a $5 million contract. So all of a sudden, Mark Attanasio, what did the Dodgers spend on Kyle Tucker? $240 million. All of a sudden, in the last 7 days, Mark Attanasio has spent almost $5 million combined on 2 players. Get ready for beers to cost $21 at the craft beer section this year. And honestly, it's not that far from that. I think they literally are $16 a piece. I mean, they'll probably get jacked up a couple more bucks this year. But they bring in Luis Rengifo. So as we talked about, they traded Caleb Durbin. They traded all their third base depth. They traded Durbin, Monasterio, Siegler as a part of the deal with the Red Sox. They brought back Kyle Harrison, Shane Drowan, and David Hamilton. Hamilton's an infielder. He hit sub 200, but he's got great speed like we discussed when they made the trade. And he's got a little bit of pop, so he kind of factors in as a utility infielder. But the question was, okay, what do you do at third base now? A couple of episodes ago, we talked about Jet Williams, who they got in the Freddie Peralta deal, blue chip shortstop prospect, pretty much major league ready. And we threw out there, maybe they give him a shot at third base. Maybe because he's a shortstop by trade, you move Ortiz back to third, and that's where he had a really nice year his rookie year. Maybe you mix things up. Maybe Terang can go to short and Jet can go to second, and you reshuffle the deck that way. As we discussed on the Friday podcast, Pat Murphy on Wednesday, when pitchers and catchers reported, said, Ortiz right now is our shortstop, Terang is our second baseman, and third base is an open competition. I believe Jet Williams will be a part of that competition, probably David Hamilton as well. But now Luis Rengifo will certainly be in that conversation. This is a classic Brewer move. Luis Rengifo is entering his 8th year in Major League Baseball. He's 29 years old, not young, but not old. And he has spent his entire 7-year career with the Angels. He is a utility infielder. We love us some utility infielders in Milwaukee. He can play third. He can play short. He can play second. You could probably put him at first. And in a pinch, you could probably throw him in the outfield. Maybe he could catch and throw an inning of relief too. But we know, if you follow the Brewers over the last decade, going back to the beginning of the David Stearns era, Stearns, Matt Arnold, Murphy, Counsell, they love these guys. They love guys who can throw at any spot on the infield. They're okay at the plate. They can hit for some pop, but they give you solid defense, and you can move them around. They're very versatile. Now, I would think, given the pedigree and the resume of all the people that could potentially play third base right now, and I'm not saying another move couldn't be made. There are some third basemen out there that you could pick up still that are fairly big names, and there are some moves you could still make. But as the room currently looks right now, I would say they're signing on Friday. Luis Rengifo would be the clubhouse favorite to be the starting third baseman on opening day. He did not have a great year at the plate last year, hit .238 with 9 home runs and 43 driven in, but he did play in 147 games. He made 500 plate appearances. Now, the year prior, in 78 games, he hit .300 and had 6 home runs, and in 22 and 23, he had back-to-back double-digit home run years. In 22, he popped 17 home runs. In 23, he hit 16 home runs. So he's got a little bit of power. For his career, he is a .250 hitter with 62 home runs, 571 hits over the course of 7 seasons. But when I saw his name and kind of knowing a little bit about him just by following baseball, I thought, oh, this is a classic Brewer. You can put him anywhere. He can hit a little bit. He can steal some bags. He had 24 steals last year. He had 11 steals this past season. So he's a guy who can move around a little bit. This is a classic Brewer move. This is the mold of a Brewer move. So he is added into the fold as a potential third baseman. But I got a message on the on-air John page from a couple people, and the blog I wrote about Caleb Durbin getting traded after they signed Rengifo. A couple of people said, how is this guy better than Caleb Durbin? And my answer was, he might not be. But also, we need to stop treating this Caleb Durbin trade like they traded Pete Rose and when he was 24 years old. I'm stunned at the amount of conversation about Caleb Durbin that is still happening on Brewer social media, on Brewer Twitter. Like I said when they traded him, I like Caleb Durbin. And speaking of guys that are built out of a mold to be a Brewer baseball player, Caleb Durbin, much like Luis Rengifo, could play third, he could play second, you could probably put him at short. He's going to hit you .250, he's got a little bit of pop, he's gritty, he hustles, he gets the jersey dirty. There are a lot of reasons to like Caleb Durbin, and I guess we'll see how he develops. Maybe last year is the best we're going to see, and if that's the case and he does that every year for the next 10 years, he's going to have a nice career. Maybe there is more upside to Caleb Durbin, and he'll get more at-bats in Boston, and he'll be more comfortable in year 2, and he'll grow, and the average will get better, and the power will get better, and all that stuff, and maybe we'll regret the trade. But right now, the amount of outrage over trading a guy who hit .256, I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, again, I really enjoyed his style of play. I think he's a good locker room guy. There's a lot to like about Caleb Durbin. But if you just scroll on Brewer Twitter, especially after the Rengifo signing, where a lot of people were talking about, like the message I got on the On-Air John Facebook page of how is this an improvement over Durbin, it might not be. But first of all, Caleb Durbin, we did not trade Vlad Guerrero at 22 years old. I mean, this is Caleb Durbin. Luis Rengifo is a .250 career hitter. Caleb Durbin hit .256. I mean, what are we talking about here? This is not a .300 hitter with pop they got rid of, okay? We need to stop glamorizing Caleb Durbin. This is gonna be a Jordan Love situation for me. Now watch, Caleb Durbin's gonna hit .295 and pop 20 home runs for the Red Sox, and this is gonna be like another Jordan Love hill to die on for me. I love Caleb Durbin. I'm sad to see him go. I think it's not so much about whether or not Luis Rengifo, if he is going to be the third baseman, is better than Durbin or the same as Durbin. It's not about that. It's about the two pitchers they got back. This baseball system, this franchise, this small market franchise craves pitching depth. And I think what happened was, I'm not sure Caleb Durbin was even necessarily getting sold or was on the block. They got an offer for Caleb Durbin where the two lefty pitchers they got back, they felt like they couldn't pass up. And as we talked about, Kyle Harrison 2 years ago was the number one prospect in the Giants system and a top 20 prospect in all of baseball. And for a team that needs to have good, young, controllable pitching, I think him and Drowan coming back in that Durbin deal was just something that Matt Arnold felt like he couldn't pass up. And he probably also felt like we can find a somewhat replacement for Durbin, like signing Luis Rengifo or whatever they end up doing. I think he felt like Durbin was more replaceable than the starting pitching or the pitchers they were getting back. Like, it's hard to find really good lefty pitchers, and he felt like he got two back in that deal, and we can find someone to hit 260 and hit 13 home runs at third base. And I think that's what ultimately happened. He got an offer he couldn't refuse. He got an offer back for Caleb Durbin that he didn't think he was going to get, and he liked both pitchers, and you get the infielder Hamilton, who is a former Brewer draft pick, and they know all about him and his speed, and he's well-versed in the organization, and they know him well. So I just think they got an offer where they felt like the talent was there, and good lefty pitchers are hard to find, so take that, and then we can figure out third base. We can find a guy to hit 255, 260, and hit 15 home runs next year, and maybe they did with Luis Rengifo, but I saw a lot of that conversation after the Rengifo signing over the weekend. So the full team reports today. Everybody was at the facility on Saturday. Yelly made his appearance on Saturday. So the full team is in town in Phoenix, and I'll be there in 20 days. We get our first spring training game this Saturday. You're going to flip on the radio this Saturday, and Brewer baseball is going to be on. By the way, so the over-under for season wins is out. As you know, the over on Brewer season wins in each of the past almost 10 years, with the exception of the pandemic year, the Brewers have gone over every year from 2016 through last year, with the exception of the 60-game pandemic year, and they only missed it that year, I think, by a game or two games. Every other year they've gone over. And every year it feels like their over-under is hanging in the 80.5, 79.5. I think last year was 82.5. And that has been an easy over. Now this year, there are a couple of different books that have different options. My book, Bookie Chad's book, my book has the Brewers at 84.5, which is the highest it's been in the last 10 years. And I actually feel like that's ballpark about where they're going to be. I mean, I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to win close to 90 games. But, that's not that big of a gap between the 85 they need to hit the over and 88 or 89 or 90 wins where maybe they'll land. But that one is a little higher than I thought. I believe the FanDuels of the world and the DraftKings of the world have them at 83.5. So I have not put my bet in yet because I'm hoping my book is going to get it back down to 84 or 83.5 at some point. But now with the Luis Rengifo signing, probably went up by half a game. But I'm hoping my book is going to scale it back. I'm going to take the over either way. But I'm just going to wait to see if my book comes down to the DraftKings FanDuel 83.5. But that's about where they are for the over-unders. We get set for spring training on Saturday. Now let's talk real quick about the NBA All-Star Weekend. Disaster on Saturday. I used to love NBA All-Star Saturday. Number one, the Olympic coverage was a debacle for NBC because they tried to have the NBA rights and the Olympic coverage, and they've got baseball, I guess, in spring. Speaking of spending money, they're spending Dodger money on sports rights. So the problem they ran into on Saturday is typically Saturday night, the three-point shooting contest, the dunk contest, the skills competition, all that stuff. That is almost always at 7 p.m. on Saturday night. But because they have the Olympics, and it's a once every 4 years kind of deal, they wanted to have the Olympics in primetime. So my wife and I got back from curling, and we got some dinner and a couple of beers. And we got back, and I flipped it on, and it was over. Slam dunk contest was over. I was going to kind of watch Bobby in the three-point shooting contest. They did that whole thing Saturday afternoon, and it looked like the crowd was the arena was half empty. So that was not good. What was good last night was the new All-Star Game format, and they need to stick with it going forward. They kind of stole from the Hockey Four Nations, the way that NHL did their All-Star Game with the Four Nations Challenge, and you had some nationalism. Anytime you can throw some nationalism into it, you can't go wrong. So they did the U.S. versus the world, and they had 3 teams. They had the World team, which Giannis would have been on had he played. He didn't play. He did coach Shams on Friday night, and they had some interesting interactions on Friday. Giannis on the national broadcast on ESPN said he was looking for trades for Shams. So that was funny. But Giannis would have been on the World team. So there was a World team, there was a Team Stars, and a Team Stripes. Each team had 8 or 9 guys, and then they played 4 mini games that were the span of a quarter, or like 12-minute quarters. So they played 4 mini games, round robin. The World lost both of their matchups, and it ended up being Team Stars versus Team Stripes, and Team Stars won. Anthony Edwards was the MVP. But it was good, I thought. They kept it moving. There wasn't a concert in between the second and third quarter where you delay things by half an hour. They kept the basketball going on Sunday night. And I just think anytime you can use your international stars against your stateside stars, just like the NHL did, that to me is the way to do it. And I hope they stick with that format going forward. And I hope we get to see Giannis playing it next year going forward, because that would have been an interesting dynamic as well. Now, one thing they also incorporated, where's my John Tesh? As the NBA is back on NBC, they had, before the All-Star game, all they did was the anthem, and they did a live version of the NBA on NBC theme. John Tesh live at the keyboard. That's pretty cool. Basketball, gimme the rock, because I'm gonna dunk it. That was a really good way to start the whole festivity, because this is the year they're back on NBC. We talked about that when the season started, and NBC Tuesday night, and hearing that theme again brings you back to the 90s. So that was a cool way to jumpstart the game. You had the anthem, you had the introductions. They didn't go over the top with any of it, and then they just let the basketball speak for itself. Now, one player that kind of spurred the competitive spirit was Victor Wembanyama. I remember Giannis doing something similar in his early All-Star games where, if you watch an NBA All-Star game, the effort level is low, especially defensively. But remember, Giannis in his early years would actually go out there and play, and he'd block shots, and he'd get in a defensive stance and guard guys. And I remember some of the stars at that time would look at Giannis like, what the hell is this guy's problem? Like, he knows, it's like wrestling. Like, he knows this is fake, right? You know what I mean? When you'd see a wrestler that was super intense coming to the ring like Ken Shamrock, this guy knows it's fake, right? This isn't real. So that was funny. But Wembanyama sort of did the same thing, and he said going into the game, look, I'm on the World team, I'm playing my tail off, and unless you want to get embarrassed, you better meet me there. And that kind of got things going too, so tip of the cap to him. But I think that U.S. versus the World format is the way to go going forward, and Team Stars won it yesterday. Now we have a bunch of days off. The Bucks are back on the floor Friday, and now they've won 5 of 6, and I guess they're going to kind of try to get in the playoffs now. I think Giannis is going to be back on Friday. If he's not back by Friday, I think he'll be back next week at this time, as they have, I think, just 2 games over the coming weekend. And then real quick, NASCAR, we lost our bet. Ryan Blaney led for a couple laps. Exciting finish, though. They had some of the B-Tex line wanted Chase Elliott. They wanted him to be our pick, and he almost won. He was leading on the final lap, and then it was Tyler Reddick that got inside of him, got a push from behind, and passed him. On that final lap, they had a couple of crashes, too, but they didn't go to caution, so they decided to finish things out because there wasn't a ton of wreckage from the couple of crashes, and Elliott crashed right at the end, too. But Reddick gets the win, and that is a car co-owned by Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. Now, it was kind of fun to see Michael Jordan at a NASCAR winner's circle hugging the Daytona trophy the way he did when he would hug the Larry O'Brien trophy back in the day. So Michael Jordan, as an owner of NASCAR cars, getting into the winner's circle and getting a Daytona championship yesterday. But we've won a handful in the years we've had the B-Tex line picket. And again, Blaney, I don't think was a bad pick, just didn't have that great of a day. But Tyler Reddick is the Daytona 500 champion. All right, that'll do it for us here on your Monday morning. We'll go back after Friday. We'll be loading it up for the second half of the NBA schedule. Bucks in New Orleans Friday night. We will be getting set for Brewer baseball that Saturday, and we'll recap the Badger week as well as we're getting close to Selection Sunday and March Madness. Have a happy, safe work week. We'll chat with you then.